This video is sponsored by NiSi Optics. Dajiahao, kumusta? My name is Victor, and in today's video, we're going to talk about what map boxes are and how they can help you get better footage with the FX30. Well, any other cameras pretty much, with the help of this thing. This is the newly released NiSi C5 map box, and it's perfect for my rig. This is the FX30. It's inside there. It just evolved, grew up. We're going to talk about everything that this guy has to offer and how it helps you with your video production business as well. So what is a map box? A map box is an accessory that you put in front of your lens, typically a cinema lens, but they have threaded adapters for photo lenses as well, and that it helps you control unwanted flares and to keep your contrast in your footage. Now, sometimes a flare is nice, but sometimes you also need to block it because it depends on the type of scene that you're shooting. Does it help your story or does it help the video overall? Typically, you can attach flags to your map box. Sometimes they have 3 flags, 2 on the sides and 1 on the top. The NiSi one only has 1 on the top, and that it's built in right there, so you don't have to detach it and you can just close it down when you don't need it. These flags offer extra control for those stray lights that you don't want hitting the lens, or like I said, the unwanted flares that you might not need for that shot. So what comes with the NiSi map box? Personally, I have the filmmaker kit, and it includes this bag right here, a carrying case, and also what's inside is 4 adapters for your lenses. So this map box has 2 slots, and the main feature of the 2 slots is so that you can attach one of their most popular filters, which is the NiSi True Color VND 1.5 stops. It comes on a 4x4 case like this. You can still change the intensity of it using the gear on here. This map box also features a second slot, which is the 4x5.65 inch filters, kind of like this one. And with the filmmaker kit, you get 2 of these. One is the Allure Mist Black 1/8 strength, and it also has an ND16 filter where it turns the VND from a 1 to 5 stop to a 6 to 9 stop VND on the map box, which is a very clever design, and that the slots actually is super close to the lens and they stack on top of each other, rather than a traditional map box where there's still a distance from the lens to the filter, and that creates some flaring or ghosting when you're shooting. And here's a pretty good example of what the differences are between a front filter on the map box. You can see that there's a lot of distractions with the glares and the reflections, but with the NiSi one, with the filter placed on the back, you can see that the glares are way better controlled compared to the competition. Sorry, did I mention that their True Color VND is popular for a reason? And that is because of the color consistency all throughout 1 to 9 stops. And there's a lot of testing on YouTube from different creators. It's just super nice to have a consistent color all throughout the VND, and there's no vignetting all the way to 15mm. But I don't have a 15mm, I have a 16mm on the Sony, and that it doesn't seem to have any vignetting on all strengths. Vignetting and the X mark patterns on wide angle lenses are very common with VNDs, but with the NiSi True Color VNDs, I don't seem to have an issue all the way up to 16mm. And that's on a full frame. 16mm on a full frame is super wide. So I think this is one of the best VND systems that you can get out in the market right now. So why do you need a VND? Well, first of all, if you are shooting on the FX30, to fully utilize the dynamic range of this camera, you're going to shoot in S-Log3, which typically is the base ISO of 800. And in broad daylight, that's going to be too bright for you. So you need a VND to control your exposure to get it at a perfect level so that your footage won't look overexposed and you won't have to overcompensate on putting your aperture onto f11, f16, because that's going to introduce diffraction and that's going to make your footage a little muddy. This is so that you can pick the fast aperture that you need on broad daylight so that you get a blurry background. But be careful though, we don't always want a blurry background because sometimes a story needs the background to be seen with the subject to add into the story. But yes, blurry background on broad daylight is really good for aesthetics, especially for tight shots. So what does the other filter do, which is the Allure Mist Black 1/8 strength? Well, this is to kind of soften the whole image while reducing a little bit of the contrast to get you a more cinematic look. I've covered this in another video, so if you want to dive in deep into what it is, feel free to check that out. But overall, it's going to soften a little bit of the skin tones and also it's going to bloom a little bit of the highlights over here. So let me just quickly demonstrate what this filter can do. We're just going to put this in front of the lens. This is normal footage, and then this is with the 1/8 Mist Black filter from NiSi. You can see here it blooms a little bit of the highlights and that my skin is a little softer. And then without it, with it, without it, with it. And this just adds a little cinematic touch into your videos. One last thing about this map box that kind of differs from other map boxes is that there are some deflector slots on the sides, and that is when you're filming with this thing on high winds. Let's just say you rig this up on a car rig and you're going 60 miles an hour. This thing will push the wind through the map box so that the gimbal or the stabilizer that you're using on the car rig or whatever rig that you're putting this thing on has more airflow. So these slots will reduce wind resistance and will help with stability when shooting at high speeds. So let's talk about how a map box helps you in your video production business. One is client perception. You want to come into a shoot not having just a DSLR camera. You want something that will look super professional. I know this has been mentioned a lot in different YouTube videos, but it's true. Yes, you know you can do the job, but if the client is spending, let's just say $10,000 on a video, and you come in with a bare bones FX30 with a lens, is that gonna inspire confidence to the client that they hired the right person? Yes, your work might speak to it, that's for sure, and it's always the end result that matters, but they might feel a little uneasy that you're just shooting with bare bones equipment. And we all know as creatives that it's how you use the gear and how you implement your techniques into the cameras, because these are just tools. But if you come in with something like this and they see you shooting with it, it looks a little bit more professional. Now for tech savvy clients, they are fine with whatever gear that you use because they know how it works and that they know that you're using the fullest potential of the gear, especially if your work speaks to it. But if it's a normal client, most likely they have no clue of what video production is, and that's why they're hiring you. Now, if you show up on a set with a rig like this, it's going to inspire confidence with your work, and it's going to confirm that that price point with your videos are well worth it. And that leads to client experience where they feel better, they are confident that you can do the job, even though you have the right skills even with a tiny camera. It still adds to the production value that you show up on set with these types of rigs and lights and the equipment. And overall, you just want to wow the client with your production experience. So final thoughts about the NiSi C5 matte box. This is a perfect addition to my rig, and that its performance is amazing. Everything is super close to the lens. That means less ghosting and that there's no more light leaks. And the filters that come with the Filmmaker kit are the only ones that I would use anyways for my video production. So it's the perfect kit if you want to invest into a matte box system. If you have any questions at all with this matte box or how to use it, feel free to comment down below. If you want to see another FX30 video on my channel, click on this video right here, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. 너와 나 우리